George Cox for ActonTV. We are here at the Public Safety Facility and the Police Department with Officer Jim Cogan, and you're going to give us a tour of the building. What makes this building unique?
What makes us unique is we are both a police department and a fire administration is housed in our facility as well as the police department.
So it's open to the public. They have many trainings, and we're going to take a tour, so I think we should do that now.
Let's go. This is the Emergency Operations Center. It's also a training room that we use quite often to train our police officers as well as fire department members. And it's open to other town hall or townspeople. The school comes in here at different times during the year to do different things with their students. But primarily it's used for our police training and fire training.
And you know what was great too? ActonTV was on hand for the AED training right here in this building.
Okay.
And I know we did a while back a helicopter demonstration with the state troopers, and they all came in here and they showed. You got a projector in here. You've got 2 TVs, so it's quite a nice setup that you have in here.
Yeah, and you just reminded me when you talked about the helicopter, we also have our Citizens Police Academy.
Exactly.
And that is housed here. So we do that, which we're actually wrapping it up today. So 4 to 6 p.m. we have our Citizens Police Academy going on inside this wonderful facility.
Now, what is a Citizens Police Academy, Jim?
A Citizens Police Academy is an opportunity for our townspeople, as well as local communities, to come in and see what the Acton Police Department does on a regular basis.
Nice, nice. All right, so now I've only been on this level, but I'm excited to see the rest of the place.
Sure, yeah. Well, let's go.
All right.
Perfect timing. So this is our second floor, our administrative section of the police department. In here, we have a training room. We'll take a walk inside.
Okay.
And
now, is this open to the public or more just for the staff?
It's more for staff, although it has been used by community groups, Domestic Violence Network, C4RJ, different things that we, or different organizations that we interact with on a regular basis will use this. And oftentimes we use it when the other room is full.
Right, okay. So it's a good backup.
It's a great backup. And we have the same facility, basically the same equipment, AV equipment, so that we can present PowerPoints and show videos and whatnot for whatever type of training that we need to do.
That's a nice setup.
Yeah.
And they got really great AV here too, which is always a plus.
It is.
Speaking of Chief Whitmire, I think he's on the wall over here.
Yeah, actually, yeah. This is a great addition.
All the old chiefs?
The old chiefs, and it's something we've just added. It's been put up since Chief Burrows took over, and thought it was a great tribute to the former chiefs that led the department. So.
And there was a write-up about the first guy over here.
Michael Foley, that's right, yeah.
Born in 1927, and so Acton has a long history.
So if someone comes into the department to report something and it's of a confidential nature, something that you don't want to discuss in the lobby, this is what we use the public interview room for.
So it offers privacy.
It does, and we can come in here and the officer can, well, maybe we can't. We can come in here and have a private conversation with a resident to discuss whatever the nature of the complaint or incident is.
Now, what about if you had to, I watch a lot of crime shows, a lot of Discovery ID. What if you have to interrogate somebody if like they're on a suspicion of a crime? Would this be the room?
This would not be the room.
This not
yeah,
be the
we
room.
have,
okay.
but we do have a room for that.
Okay.
And, Doug will explain that when you go through the detectives area. So on a regular basis, officers will collect evidence from crime scenes or incidents that they feel needs to be processed or used. Sometimes it involves blood samples for someone that might be charged with operating under the influence of alcohol. They sometimes will be drawn blood, and we need to transport that to a laboratory. So before we do transport it, we'll keep it in one of these controlled areas. And this is obviously a refrigerated area. And the way it works is nice in order to keep the continuity of the evidence. So once an officer uses a space to put something in, they'll put the item inside the refrigerated area, and then they'll lock it up, they'll take out the key, and they'll drop it in the drop here. And what that does is once it's in there, it cannot be retrieved by anyone other than the evidence officer, who has access to a key in order to get that out of there. So no one else can have access to that evidence.
So it's a protocol that you have to follow just in case, you know, if it was handled, it's got to be handled correctly, and just in case it goes to court.
Yes, so it's, right, so it's not mishandled.
Now,
So
what type of stuff do you put in the fridge? It's more
usually
like DNA type of stuff?
Exactly.
Okay.
It would be blood or something that would require refrigeration.
Okay.
Yeah. And these are for other items, you know, if it's a piece of a car or something like that that we've picked up, we'll put it in one of these lockers, and all we do is push it shut. And once it's shut, obviously there's no way to reopen that. The only way to reopen it is have the evidence officer collect that from the other side in an evidence processing room. So it secures things without having it to be too complicated.
Right.
So this is our roll call room, George. This is where officers report for duty on either 7 a.m., 3 p.m., or 11 p.m. Across the hall is our lunchroom. And this is a place where officers can come and heat up their food and enjoy a lunch.
Nice.
If they're not lucky enough to live in town, you know, and those that are lucky enough to live in town will often go home and
Go
have
for lunch,
their, you know, their meals there. But we have many of our officers that live in other communities, so they have a place to enjoy a
Place
break.
to have their break.
Yeah. Okay. We'll move
What's
on.
next? What's in there? Pastries? I'm on a
That
diet.
is pastry. You want some?
No. The baklava here at the Acton Police Department is very good. And I'm Greek, so. What do you know?
And again, this is, when I was talking about the evidence, this is the evidence processing area that the evidence officer has access to in order to safely analyze our evidence. You know, if he has to take fingerprints of it or get it prepared for court, that's where that's done. And happy to say we have no one in custody today here in Acton, but this is where we process anyone that does come into our custody. And as you can see, we don't allow firearms in our booking area. And so what we do is we have a locking area so we can safely store our firearm, and we just keep our key with us so that when we come back, we can re-access our
Now, who's
firearm.
allowed back? I know people who are incarcerated or get arrested are back here, but is anybody else, like a family member, allowed to come back here, or a lawyer or anything like
Yeah,
that?
lawyers are allowed to come back here and see their clients. It doesn't happen very often. Most people that are in custody here in Acton aren't here for a long period of time.
Okay.
Oftentimes they're processed through our system of processing an arrest, and then they're bailed or allowed to go on their own recognizance back to their home and then appear in court on a later date.
Okay.
So it might be a matter of hours that someone's in here. There are rare occasions where people are here for longer, and in those specific incidences, we allow an attorney or family member sometimes access to talk with that person.
Okay. Can we take a look at inside of one of them?
Yeah, take a look. This is, there's two sections, and I think at one time it was thought that it's male or female. And we don't specifically say this is the male or female. If we have more than 4 people of a certain sex, we'll put them in this side, and the opposite. If we have less, we'll put them on the other side. So it's just a separate place, so we can keep male and female prisoners separate.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
and you can take a look inside here and see. Want to turn those lights on? Number 6.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's not the Ritz.
It's not the Ritz, and it's a place where I never want to be. I just want to point that out right now.
Yeah. It's, again, but most people that are here, again, aren't kept here for a long period of time. It's a safe holding facility in which we keep people.
Right. Very cool.
And yeah, you can see that.
And you know what I always thought about cells was the bars, but now you have it's all glass.
Right.
You know, so
It's safe.
more
this
secure.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a camera in the corner that monitors the activity within the cell.
So how many movies that you see, how many movies where people are in a cell, it's always the bars and they're
Yeah.
always slipping through. Every single movie, actually.
And that's what we had in our old station. We had the old bars there.
Yeah.
And since we moved in here, we've had the luxury of these beautiful cells. So this is where an officer would drive a cruiser into into the police department and allow them to safely remove a prisoner from their cruiser. It also is big enough so that if there's someone that's in need of medical care, we can allow an ambulance to come inside this.
Now, if someone gets booked, they go from here and into the room we were just at?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So again, I'll show you kind of how that flows. And they come in here. Once they're inside this area, we'll radio to the dispatch area. Who operates the doors. We don't have remote access like you would in your car.
Okay, someone has to be there.
So someone has to be there. Again, they're monitored. There's cameras inside here. They can see that the officer's pulled in with the cruiser. Once they're inside, they will radio to the dispatch and ask them to close the doors. Once the doors are secure, the officer will secure their weapon in, again, one of these lockers, and they'll take the key. That way, once they're dealing closely with a person, they have no weapon.
Right. Safety for you and them.
Exactly. So.
Now, do you do fingerprints when you book somebody too right away?
Yeah, we'll show you that machine.
So, Jim, we were just outside in the area where you bring someone in. So now the first thing they do is because I watch a lot of crime shows, get those fingerprints. So, and this is the fingerprint machine over here?
This is our fingerprint machine, yes. It's a live scan machine in which there's no ink necessary in order to take the fingerprints.
I was going to ask you, in the old days it was ink and messy.
Yeah, now it's a glass and you can lay your fingers down on it and we can collect the information. Yeah, there you go.
Do you have to do all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we put all 4 fingers on there and then we do thumbs. We can do palm prints and it's sent electronically to other law enforcement agencies.
So once it's in the system, it's in there for other law enforcement across the country and the world, pretty much, so they can look you up. So it's in a database.
Correct.
Wonderful.
Correct. So this is our holding cell. So initially when someone comes in, they're brought right inside here. And we can find out, if you want to stand there next to the thing, how tall they are. When we compare photographs of people, we don't want to let them know exactly how tall they are.
Okay.
So we want them to look at the picture and see what the picture tells them, not the height.
Right.
So we don't want that to be a distinguishing factor in whether or not an identification is made because they thought the person was a certain height.
Right.
So we take it with a plain background, just like your license photo, so that the person can look at that.
And where do you take the mug shots?
We do that right outside.
Okay.
We usually ask the person to stand on that cap right there.
Oh wow.
To take the mug shots. Once they're in the booking cell, they are booked. What booking is a collection of information about the person, where they live, their height, weight, distinguishing factors that identify them. And this is where we do that. We have a conversation with the person, again, in a safe environment. They're separated, but we can certainly see and speak to them. Right to your left, right to our left here is a breathalyzer machine. And that's a standard machine for all law enforcement agencies. And that's what we use in order to take a reading of someone's breath.
Now, do you have breathalyzers also in the cruisers as well?
We have portable breathalyzers that can be brought out in a cruiser.
Okay.
It's a small device. It's not connected in any way to the computer in the cruiser. It's just a portable device that gives us a reading.
Now, what about if they don't want to do you do a blood test as well, to see if they're on anything else?
That's a possibility. It
Okay.
depends on the circumstances of the case. So.
That's interesting. Very interesting.
So once they're done with the collection of the information of the person, we'll bring them over, take the photograph, get the fingerprints, and again, we usually will try to arrange their release at that point, calling a bail commissioner and authorizing their release so that they can go to court to answer to the charges that they've been charged with.
Interesting. So it's a whole series of processes
Yes.
that you have to go through. So.
Yes. So when someone comes into the police department off the road and has a question, looking for directions, or needs to speak to a police officer, we'd ask them to come in and go to our dispatch area, which is right in front of us here.
And you probably want every person who comes in to check in at this area.
We do,
here. Yeah.
yes. And again, we're staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they come up to the window and there's if they need assistance, a button here they can push. If the dispatcher's busy, they'll know that. See how quick they get up there?
Right away.
So it works quite well.
We are here with Lieutenant Doug Sterniolo, who's going to show us some of the operations of dispatch. So you're going to give us a tour of that, and we're also going to go upstairs to see...
We're going to see the Special Services Division, which is on the second floor.
Okay, we look forward to seeing it.
Come on in, we'll take a look at dispatch communications.
Wow.
So here we are, we have, like I said, our dispatch communications. We have 4 workstations and 2 dispatchers at all times. So they obviously work 24/7 around the clock. Same shift as the patrols, 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11 to 7. Over here we have the dispatch supervisor, Marian Mclaughlin.
Hi.
She can give you a quick overview of the operations.
Sure. We dispatch for the town of Acton for police, fire, and emergency medical services. We have 12 dispatchers on our staff, and we are always staffed with 2 dispatchers per shift. Monday through Friday, I'm here as well, so that gives us 3 dispatchers. You can see by the center we have 4 consoles. 3 of them are 911 stations. They're all identical. We also have emergency medical dispatch tablets. We provide pre-arrival instructions for medical calls, and we have our 911 and all of our other CAD software.
So you're really very busy here, managing the calls and where the officers go to a location.
Yes, officers, firefighters, paramedics. So we dispatch everybody.
Wow, that's awesome.
So it is very busy sometimes.
And you can imagine with a serious incident, a 911 call, with cell phones, you have numerous calls coming in at once. So it's not just the one call that we get for the accident. We might get 10, 15, 20 calls, or even more, depending on the nature of the incident.
Now,
so they really get, flooded with the calls.
Everybody has cell phones now. So
Correct.
when people call 911, if they're in a particular town, where does that call go to? Where does it get routed to?
It comes right into here.
So now
it
the cell phone companies actually know like what town you're in, and it will ping to the closest station?
Yep.
A cell call, you can tell by the symbol. So it gives us a confidence of 90%. So if the circle was broader, we would know that the confidence within meters, so that's within 11 meters. We're 90% confident of 11 meters. If it was a bigger circle, we'd know that our confidence wasn't as high and it wouldn't be as close.
So using advanced GPS technology just to track down that phone.
So this technology is from your cell phone carriers and it bouncing off towers.
So people have an emergency, it's okay to call 911 from your cell phone.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
Excellent. Now, when did that really start coming into play? Like this technology? Like it's like 10 years ago or more than that? Would you say?
I would say it's been at least 10 years.
Yeah.
Probably
'Cause
better than 10 years.
before that, it was like you'd have to. It was different. It's different now, which is
Right.
good. I'm glad
This
that.
next generation 911, the map is our best upgrade in this product because you can see what a clear picture this is. We can zoom in, we can zoom out, we can measure, we can look for, we can enter addresses. So you can see, the terrain really well. And we could measure distances if somebody was in the woods, and we could provide that information to the responders. So this is a real great piece of the upgrade.
Excellent. Excellent tool. So, Doug, we're going to check out some of the cruises that you have. Now, what brand of cruises do you have? What make and model?
We have the Ford Explorers, all-wheel drive.
So they're all Ford Explorers. They're not just like a town car
For the
style.
most part. We have
Okay.
one Expedition that's a little bit larger vehicle. And we also have the school resource officers have a Ford F-150 pickup truck.
Okay.
And it's actually on the other side of the building, so you might be able to catch that on your way out.
Now, do you have an animal control officer too?
We
on
do.
Duty?
He does work for the town.
Okay.
It's
Nice.
TAC Palmer, and it's very helpful because we do get a lot of calls with animals and dogs, so they're very helpful.
Now, how fast can these go for a speed if you need to?
They just like any other vehicle,
Yeah.
speed-wise, but with public safety in mind, you got to keep the speeds reasonable and be aware of your surroundings. So we don't really push them too hard, All the marked vehicles are equipped the same. That way, when the officers come in, they're assigned a particular car. But depending if they're working a different shift or they're all set up that anyone can get into any vehicle and everything's set up the same. That way there's no confusion as to where a button is to release something.
They're all consistent.
Where's the equipment, especially when you're talking first aid, because time is essential. So you want to make sure you know where the defibrillator is. Your
Now, do they
bag
upgrade
valve.
these every so often? Every so many
Every
years?
couple of years.
Every couple of years they
Yep.
do upgrades.
They do. Like I said, so every vehicle has a defibrillator and Narcan. So then we have some unmarked for the detectives. So a fleet of 14 marked, and probably about 8 or so on the unmarked vehicles.
Very nice.
Some of them are identified depending on if it's a supervisor. You can see the one on the end here is traffic. So we have a traffic unit, and we'll take a look the office when we get upstairs. But we do have 2 detectives that work in the traffic unit. So this is where the patrol division will store their bags, as you can see. They can be loaded up and fairly heavy. So you want to do.
What does the bags consist of?
It consists of all the tools necessary for the job. You've got all your paperwork, your citation books, law books.
Tools of the trade.
Tools of the trade, exactly. But as you can see, they're pretty big, and you can feel how heavy they are. Go ahead and grab a hold of that one.
Oh yeah.
You know, so this just minimizes to having to take it up and taking up space in your locker. So we added these. It's only been a couple of years, but it's working out pretty well. Just so
Nice.
they come here and then they take them and go. That way we're not leaving them in the cars also. So the deputy mentioned earlier when he was explaining the interview room for the lobby. This here is the interview for investigations. If we're going to
Okay.
interview a
if
suspect, a
you have
witness, a victim,
Yeah.
this is
So-
audio and video recorded. And as you can see, it's clearly marked. We have to provide notice before we do that. So it's posted on the door and on the wall.
Now, what is the mirror going to? Is it going to the?
Right, so that's where the computer is. and
Okay.
we record everything through the
Record
other
everything.
cameras. So it's essentially a one-way glass.
Now this door is unmarked.
Yeah, well, this
Oh,
is
so
the
now it's part of
controls.
the interrogate. Yeah.
Yeah, so interview room there, that's audio,
Oh, wow.
video recorded, and this is where the computer is. It has the capability to record obviously on the hard drive, but then to record it onto a disc, and that's how they provide the evidence to court. They would obviously put the case number on it. That's
Cool. Do you have a place where someone wants to identify a witness? Because I think of the two-way mirror, and I think of the lineup when I.
Yep.
You know.
They can do that there or
Yep.
with the photo lineup.
Okay. So that would be the area that you do it in.
Right. So over here we have the traffic and safety office. This is, I mentioned earlier, Detective Chris Prale. You want to say hi, Chris?
Afternoon.
Hi. How are you?
Good. How are
So-
you?
Good.
Chris actually just had, he was just recognized by the town for his 30 years of service with the town.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Great ride.
So he's been here.
Forward to some more.
Yeah.
Not leaving yet.
Yeah. So
Thanks
we've
for
have,
coming. Enjoy your tour.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so along with Detective Prale is Detective John Stackhouse, whose desk is right here in
Yep.
front of you there. So we have 2 traffic officers. Handle all of the traffic issues, traffic enforcement, which obviously the patrol division will supplement. So that's like their primary, but we also have the patrol cars assisting with all traffic. Typically your number 1 complaint in town is the issues with traffic.
Right.
This is youth services, so it's the school resource officers, also referred to as SROs. So if you hear
Okay.
SRO, it's a common term for the school resource officer. Detective.
Hi, I'm Detective Campbell. I work both here. I have an office here. I also have an office at the high school. Part of my job is to work with youth victims and youth offenders, as well as maintain security at our campus schools. So it's a busy job. I spend some time here, but most of the time I'm at the school. So thanks.
Over here is Detective Mike Araclio's desk. He is the school resource officer, and he handles the elementary schools, all 5 of them. And we have Detective Luke Penny over here. He is the night SRO. Very busy on the evenings. You might not think so, but there's a lot of activity on the campus
Oh
at
yeah.
all the schools. So
Yep. Games and everything.
it's been a great addition. He's been in that position for almost 2 years now.
Oh, wow.
In the back corner is Detective Kevin Heffernan's station, and he is the court prosecutor. So all the court matters go through Kevin. Here is some of the labels here. This is where his office used to be, but we've had some recent changes. So we actually have I shouldn't say recent, it's a couple years now, we do have to update the signs, but this is Sergeant Fred Rentschler's office, and he is
Okay.
the supervisor for the SROs and the prosecutor.
Excellent.
And that concludes the second floor special services.
We'd like to thank Lieutenant Sterniolo and Deputy Chief Kogan for giving us a tour of this great facility. And if you want more information, or maybe you want to come down and do a tour yourself, visit the town website. We'd like to thank Lieutenant Sterniolo. Okay. We'd like to thank Lieutenant Sterniolo.
You're killing me. Worse than some of the guys here.
Sterniolo.